Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the colony ship Aurora's Dawn, watching the stars through the main window. 50,000 people slept in the ship's cold storage pods, dreaming of their new home on a planet called Kepler 442b. Jake had been flying ships for 20 years, but this was his biggest job yet. He was taking these people to start a new life far from Earth. "Captain, we have something on the sensors," said Lieutenant Alex Carter from his station. Alex was the head of ship security, a young man with sharp eyes who never missed anything. Strange. Jake walked over to look at the screen. 3 large objects were moving toward them. They were too big to be asteroids and too smooth to be natural. "Ships," Jake said quietly. Dr. Lisa Hamilton hurried onto the bridge. She was the ship's expert on meeting new alien life forms. Her job was to make first contact if they ever met other intelligent beings. Lisa had studied every known alien species, but none had ever been seen in this part of space. "Captain, those ships are not human design," Lisa said, looking at the readings. "The metal is unknown. The power source is unlike anything we use." Jake felt his stomach tighten. In his 20 years of flying, he had heard stories about alien ships, but he had never seen one himself. "How far away are they?" 2 million kilometers and closing fast," Alex reported. "They will reach us in 30 minutes. Jake turned to Lisa. "Doctor, what do we do? What are the rules for meeting aliens?" Lisa opened her tablet and started reading. "First, we try to show we are peaceful. We send simple signals like mathematics or music. We do not point weapons at them. We wait for them to make the first move." The 3 alien ships were beautiful, in a strange way. They looked like they were made of silver glass, smooth and curved, no sharp edges anywhere. They moved without any visible engines, floating through space like fish swimming in water. "They are scanning us," Alex said, watching his instruments. "Some kind of beam is looking at our ship." Jake felt nervous. The scan felt like having someone point a flashlight at him in the dark. "Lisa, is that normal?" "Yes, Captain. If I met a new species, I would want to study them too. This is probably how they say hello." But Jake's military training made him worry. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion 10 years ago. He knew that sometimes what looked like a scan could really be someone getting ready to shoot. "Alex, turn on our defense systems, but do not target them. Just be ready." Alex's fingers moved over his controls. The ship's computer began to watch the alien vessels more carefully. If they tried to attack, the ship would fight back automatically. On the largest alien ship, Commander Zixathala looked at the readings from the human vessel. Zixathala had been exploring space for 150 years. In all that time, every new species had been peaceful. They would scan each other, share some basic information, and then talk about trade or friendship. But these humans were different. When Zixathala's ship started their friendly scan, the human ship turned on weapon systems. This had never happened before. "Commander," said one of Zixathala's officers, "the alien ship has armed itself. Should we be worried?" Zixathala thought about this. In the Zephyrian language, there was no word for war. They had no word for enemy. For thousands of years, the Zephyrians had solved every problem by talking. Perhaps they are just being careful. We are strangers to them. Back on the Aurora's Dawn, Lisa was trying to send a message to the aliens. She used simple math problems and pictures of humans. She sent music from Earth and images of peaceful things like flowers and children playing. The aliens sent back their own message. It was complex mathematics and beautiful patterns of light. Lisa smiled as she worked to understand it. "Captain, I think they are trying to be friendly. Look at these patterns. They are showing us art." But then something went wrong. The ship's defense computer saw that the alien scanning beam was getting stronger. It thought the aliens were preparing to attack. Without asking anyone, the computer locked weapons onto the 3 alien ships. "Captain!" Alex shouted. "Our systems just targeted the aliens. I did not do it. The computer did it automatically." Jake's face went white. "Turn it off. Turn it off right now." But it was too late. On the alien ships, alarms started ringing. The Zephyrians saw that the humans had pointed weapons at them. This was something that had never happened in their entire history. "Commander," the alien officer said, his voice shaking. "They are targeting us with weapons. What do we do?" Zixthala could not believe it. A new species was threatening them. No one had ever threatened the Zephyrians. They were the most advanced civilization in this part of the galaxy. Other species always showed respect. "Send them a message," Zixthala ordered. "Tell them to turn off their weapons. Tell them we mean no harm." Lisa received the alien message. It was urgent and repeated many times. "Captain, they want us to power down our weapons. They seem scared." Jake was trying to turn off the targeting system, but it would not respond. "The computer thinks we are in danger. It will not let me turn off the weapons." On the alien ship, Zixthala made a decision that would change everything. The humans would not turn off their weapons. In Zephyrian culture, this meant they wanted to fight. Zixthala had to protect their ships and crew. "Prepare our own weapons," Zixthala ordered sadly. "If they want to fight, we must defend ourselves." The alien ships suddenly became much brighter. Energy began to build around them. Jake could see the power readings on his screen going higher and higher. "Captain," Alex said quietly, "I think they are about to shoot at us." Jake looked at the 50,000 sleeping colonists in his ship. These people trusted him to keep them safe. They had left Earth to find a better life, and now they might die because of a computer mistake. "All hands, prepare for battle," Jake announced over the ship's speakers. "This is not a drill." Lisa looked at Jake with wide eyes. "Captain, this is first contact. We cannot fight them. We have to find another way." But Jake was already thinking like a soldier. The aliens had bigger ships and better weapons. His only chance was to act first. "Alex, prepare to fire. Target their weapon systems." "Captain, wait," Lisa begged. "Let me try to explain. This is all a mistake." Jake looked at the alien ships. They were 3 times bigger than his ship. Their weapons could probably destroy the Aurora's Dawn with one shot, but he would not let his people die without a fight. "Fire," Jake ordered. The Aurora's Dawn shot its missiles at the alien ships. The weapons were old and simple compared to alien technology, but they were still dangerous. The missiles hit the shields around the alien ships, making bright flashes of light. On the alien ship, Zixthala watched in shock as the human weapons hit their shields. No one had ever attacked the Zephyrians. No one had ever been so foolish as to fight against their superior technology. "Return fire," Zixthala ordered, but the words felt strange. The Zephyrians had weapons, but they had never used them against another intelligent species. The alien weapons fired back. Beams of pure energy hit the Aurora's Dawn, making the ship shake and throwing everyone to the floor. Lights went out all over the ship. Jake picked himself up and looked at his damaged bridge. This was just the beginning. He could see in the aliens' response that they had never really fought before. They were holding back, probably trying not to kill his people. That gave him an idea. Maybe he could use their kindness against them. Maybe humans could win this fight not because they were stronger, but because they were willing to do things that peaceful aliens would never consider. The war between humans and aliens had begun, and neither side knew how it would end. The Aurora's Dawn shook again as another alien energy beam hit the ship's hull. Captain Jake Morrison held onto his chair as sparks flew from damaged control panels. The lights flickered on and off, and he could hear the sound of metal bending. "Under stress. Damage report," Jake called out over the noise. Lieutenant Alex Carter looked at his screens. "Hull breach on Deck 7. We have lost 2 engine pods. Life support is working, but barely." Dr. Lisa Hamilton was still trying to send messages to the alien ships. "Captain, please let me keep trying to talk to them. This does not have to be a fight." Jake shook his head. "Doctor, they just shot at us 3 times. Talking time is over." What Jake did not know was that the aliens were just as confused as the humans. On the lead alien ship, Commander Zixthala was trying to understand what was happening. The human ship was much smaller and weaker, but it kept fighting. This made no sense. "Commander," said the alien officer, "the human ship is moving toward us." "Are they trying to escape?" Zixthala looked at the readings. The human ship was not running away. It was getting closer to the alien ships. What are they doing? Do they want to surrender? But Jake was not planning to surrender. He was planning something that no peaceful alien could imagine. "Alex, prepare the ramming charge. We are going to hit their ship." Alex stared at Jake. "Captain, that will destroy us too." "Maybe," Jake said, "but it will hurt them more. Sometimes you have to be willing to lose everything to protect what matters." This was something that Dr. Kyle Brooks was writing down in his notes. Brooks was a military historian who studied how humans fought wars. He was on the ship to record the colony mission, but now he was watching something much more important. "The aliens do not understand us," Brooks wrote in his journal. "They think war is about winning without getting hurt. They do not know that humans will die to protect their families." Down in the ship's lower levels, Sergeant Ben Tucker was getting his Marines ready for battle. Tucker had fought in 3 wars on Earth. He knew that sometimes the enemy would try to board your ship and capture it. "Listen up," Tucker told his 20 Marines. "These aliens have better weapons and better ships, but they have never fought someone like us. We are going to show them what happens when you mess with humans." Maya Rodriguez was not a soldier. She was an engineer who fixed the ship's machines. But when she heard that aliens were attacking her ship, she started thinking like a fighter. Maya began looking at all the ship's systems, thinking about how to use them as weapons. "If they board us," Maya thought, "I can turn off the gravity in some areas. I can fill rooms with steam from the engines. I can make their invasion as hard as possible." The aliens did not know that humans were preparing for this kind of fight. Zixthala decided to send boarding parties to capture the human ship. In Zephyrian culture, when one side was clearly stronger, the weaker side would give up. The aliens thought they just needed to show the humans how powerful they were. "Send 3 boarding ships," Zixthala ordered. "Capture some humans so we can study them. Do not hurt them unless you have to." The alien boarding ships were beautiful, made of the same silver material as the main ships. They moved silently through space and attached to the aurora's dawn like gentle insects. The aliens inside wore shining armor and carried weapons that could stun enemies without killing them. When the aliens cut through the ship's hull, they expected to find scared humans waiting to surrender. Instead, they found Sergeant Tucker and his Marines waiting behind metal barriers with weapons ready. "Welcome to our ship," Tucker said, and then he started shooting. The aliens had never experienced anything like this. In their culture, when someone was clearly outmatched, they would stop fighting and ask for help. But the human Marines kept shooting even when the alien weapons hit them. They kept fighting even when they were hurt. One alien soldier watched, in shock as a human Marine used his last grenade to destroy an alien weapon, knowing the explosion would hurt him too. The alien had never seen anyone choose to get hurt in order to hurt an enemy. Maya Rodriguez was watching the battle on her security screens. She saw that the aliens were confused by human tactics. When human soldiers ran out of bullets, they used knives. When they ran out of knives, they used their hands. When they could not fight anymore, they called for their friends to keep fighting. Maya started her own plan. She turned off the lights in the hallways where aliens were walking. She made the floors slippery by releasing cleaning chemicals. She played loud, scary music through the ship's speakers to make the aliens nervous. Dr. Brooks was still taking notes even as the battle raged around him. "The aliens fight like they are playing a game with rules," he wrote. "Humans fight like they are trying to survive. The aliens are stronger, but humans are more desperate." The alien boarding party leader tried to contact Commander Zix Thala. "Sir, the humans are not behaving normally. They will not surrender even when we show them our superior weapons." Zix Thala could not understand this. "Are you hurting them? We do not want to kill them." "No, sir. We are using stun weapons only, but they keep fighting anyway. Some of them are protecting other humans even when they are hurt. It does not make sense." On the ship's bridge, Jake was watching the battle through security cameras. He saw his people fighting against impossible odds, and he felt proud. These aliens might have better technology, but they did not understand the human heart. "Alex, prepare the self-destruct system," Jake ordered. Alex looked shocked. "Captain, that will kill everyone on the ship. If the aliens capture us, they will study us. They will learn how to fight humans, and then they will attack Earth. We cannot let that happen." Dr. Lisa Hamilton finally understood what was happening. The aliens were not evil. They were just different. They had evolved in a peaceful galaxy where no one ever really fought wars. They did not know how to deal with a species that would rather die than lose. "Captain," Lisa said, "I think I know why this happened. The aliens have never met a species like us. They do not understand that humans will fight to the death." Jake nodded. "Then we need to teach them." The battle in the hallways was getting worse for the aliens. Sergeant Tucker's Marines were using tactics that the peaceful aliens had never seen. They would pretend to retreat, then attack from behind. They would sacrifice themselves to save their friends. They fought with a fury that scared the alien soldiers. Maya Rodriguez had turned the ship into a maze of traps. Doors would close suddenly, trapping aliens in small rooms. Floors would become electrified. Robot maintenance machines would attack. Alien soldiers like angry metal animals. Commander Zix Thala watched the battle reports with growing horror. The aliens were winning, but at a terrible cost. The humans were teaching them that victory could be more terrible than defeat. "Sir," reported the boarding party leader, "we have captured part of the ship, but the humans keep fighting. They are using their own wounded as shields. They are turning everything into weapons. We have never seen anything like this." Zix Thala realized that they had made a terrible mistake. They thought the humans were like every other species they had met, but humans were something new and frightening. They were a species that had learned to love war. The alien commander made a decision that surprised everyone. "Retreat. Pull back our boarding parties." "But sir," the officer protested, "we are winning." "No," Zix Thala said quietly. "We are learning something about humans that I wish we had never learned. They are not like us. They are not like anyone we have ever met." As the alien boarding ships detached from the Aurora's dawn, Sergeant Tucker and his surviving Marines cheered. They had driven off an enemy with superior technology through pure human stubbornness. Maya Rodriguez looked at her damaged ship and smiled. She had helped win a battle using nothing but cleverness and determination. Dr. Brooks finished writing his report about the battle. "Today I saw something amazing," he wrote. "I saw humans fight like humans. The aliens are more advanced than us, but they have never learned the most important lesson of survival. Sometimes you have to be willing to lose everything to protect what you love." Captain Jake Morrison looked at the alien ships pulling away from his damaged vessel. The first battle was over, but he knew this was just the beginning. The aliens had learned that humans were dangerous. Now they would have to decide what to do about it. Jake had a feeling that the next time they met, the aliens would not be so gentle. 3 weeks had passed since the first battle between humans and the Zephyrian aliens. The Aurora's Dawn was still floating in space, badly damaged, but still alive. Captain Jake Morrison had sent an emergency message to Earth asking for help. He did not know if anyone would come, but he had to try. The alien ships had pulled back, but they were still watching. Commander Zixathala spent those 3 weeks thinking about what had happened. The aliens had shared the battle recordings with their home world. For the first time in their history, the Zephyrians were afraid of another species. "How can they fight like that?" asked one of Zixathala's officers. "How can they be willing to die just to hurt us?" Zixathala had no answer. The aliens had studied the human ship's database and learned about Earth's history. What they found shocked them beyond belief. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They had weapons designed only to kill other humans. They had entire books about how to destroy their enemies. "They are not like us," Zixathala said quietly. "They are a species born from war." On Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan received Jake's message. She was the head of Earth's Defense Force, a tough woman who had spent her whole life preparing for this moment. First contact with aliens, and it had gone wrong. "How many ships do we have ready?" she asked her staff. 12 battleships and 30 support vessels, reported Colonel Ryan Davis. Ryan was her special operations leader, a man who specialized in impossible missions. "But Admiral, if these aliens are as advanced as the report says, we will be badly outgunned." Kate smiled grimly. "Since when has that stopped humans? Get me Dr. Nina Wells." Dr. Nina Wells was an expert in psychological warfare. Her job was to find ways to win battles without just using bigger guns. When she read the reports from the Aurora's Dawn, she became very interested. "Admiral," Nina said, "these aliens have never experienced real war. They do not understand how humans think. In battle, that gives us an advantage. The human fleet that left Earth was small compared to what the aliens could bring. But it carried something the aliens had never faced: centuries of human military knowledge. Every dirty trick, every desperate tactic, every lesson learned from 1,000,000 battles. When the human ships arrived at the Kepler system, the aliens were waiting for them. Zixathala had called for reinforcements. 200 alien ships surrounded the small human fleet. The aliens expected the humans to see they were outnumbered and surrender. Instead, Admiral Sullivan gave the order that shocked the watching aliens. "Operation Berserker begins now." The human ships did not try to fight the alien fleet directly. That would have been suicide. Instead, they split up and began attacking in ways the aliens could not predict. Some ships pretended to surrender, then exploded when aliens came close. Others used civilian cargo vessels as weapons, filling them with explosives and ramming them into alien ships. Colonel Davis led a team of soldiers in small attack ships. Their job was not to destroy the alien fleet, but to make the aliens afraid. They attacked supply ships that were far from the main battle. They set traps for alien rescue vessels. They made the aliens feel like nowhere was safe. Dr. Wells had studied the alien psychology reports. She knew the aliens were peaceful by nature, so she designed attacks meant to terrify rather than kill. Human ships would appear suddenly, attack, and disappear. They would send disturbing messages to alien crews. They played recordings of human battle cries that made the peaceful aliens feel sick with fear. On the Aurora's dawn, the colonists had been woken from their sleep pods. They were not soldiers, but they wanted to help. Maya Rodriguez had taught them how to turn their colony ship into a weapon. They removed the safety systems from the engines. They filled storage areas with explosives. They prepared to turn their home into the biggest bomb anyone had ever seen. Commander Zix Thala watched the human tactics with growing horror. The aliens had surrounded the humans and cut off their escape routes. By all logical thinking, the humans should give up. Instead, they fought harder. "Commander," reported an alien officer, "the humans are not trying to win. They are trying to make us pay the highest price possible for victory." This was something the aliens could not understand. In their culture, when someone was clearly going to lose, they would surrender and ask for mercy. The idea of fighting to cause maximum damage, even when you knew you would die, was completely foreign to them. The battle reached its peak when Admiral Sullivan realized her fleet was about to be destroyed. She could retreat and save some of her ships. Or she could do something that would make the aliens remember this day forever. "All ships," she broadcast, "prepare for final assault. We are going to show these aliens what humans do when we have nothing left to lose." What happened next became known as the Kepler Charge. Every surviving human ship, damaged and dying, turned toward the alien fleet and attacked at full speed. They were not trying to escape. They were not trying to win. They were trying to do as much damage as possible before they died. The aliens watched in absolute terror as human ships, some of them already on fire, crashed into alien vessels. Human captains steered their exploding ships directly into alien command centers. Soldiers who had lost their weapons grabbed alien Marines and pulled them into explosions. Captain Jake Morrison made the decision that would haunt the aliens forever. He turned the Aurora's dawn, carrying 50,000 human colonists, toward the largest alien ship. He was going to ram it. "Captain," Dr. Lisa Hamilton said, "there are families on this ship. Children." Jake's voice was steady. "And if we do not stop these aliens here, there will be children dying on Earth tomorrow." The aliens could not believe what they were seeing. The humans were willing to sacrifice 50,000 of their own people just to destroy one alien ship. No species they had ever met would do such a thing. Commander Zix Thala made a desperate decision. Instead of letting the colony ship ram his flagship, he ordered his ships to target the Aurora's dawn. It was the first time in alien history that they had deliberately tried to kill civilians. But the humans had expected this. Just before the alien weapons fired, Jake launched every escape pod on the ship. Thousands of colonists flew away in small pods, while the ship itself continued its attack run. The Aurora's dawn exploded against the alien flagship in a blast that lit up space for millions of kilometers. The alien ship survived, but it was badly damaged. More importantly, the aliens had learned something terrible about humans. They would sacrifice anything to protect their species. They would turn their homes into weapons. They would use their children as soldiers if they had to. They were not just warriors. They were a species that had made war into their deepest nature. After the battle, only a few human ships were left. The aliens had won, but they felt like they had lost something important. They had been forced to kill humans who could not fight back. They had seen courage that made their own civilization seem weak. Zix Thala sent a message to the human survivors. "We do not understand you. We do not understand how you can fight like this. But we want this war to end." Admiral Sullivan, floating in an escape pod from her destroyed flagship, sent back a simple message. "Then leave us alone." The aliens retreated to their homeworld, carrying with them recordings of human warfare. What they had seen would change their civilization forever. They had met a species that embraced violence as a tool of survival. For the first time in their peaceful history, the Zephyrians began to fear the dark between the stars. Somewhere out there was a species that would never stop fighting, never surrender, and never show mercy to those who threatened their families. The humans had lost the battle, but they had won something more important. They had taught the aliens to be afraid, and fear, the humans knew, was the beginning of respect. On the Zephyrian homeworld of Serenity Prime, billions of peaceful aliens watched the battle recordings in silent horror. They had never seen violence like this before. In their cities of crystal and light, where no one had raised a weapon in anger for 10,000 years, the sight of human warfare was like watching a nightmare come to life. Dr. Sam Mitchell sat in his small office on Earth, studying everything the military had learned about the aliens. Sam was an expert in alien psychology, but these Zephyrians were unlike anything he had studied before. They were a species that had evolved without predators, without war, without the need to fight for survival. "They are like children," Sam wrote in his report. "Incredibly advanced children who have never learned that sometimes violence is necessary." Chief Lisa Barnes worked day and night in the Earth Defense Intelligence Center. Her job was to intercept alien communications and figure out what they were planning. What she discovered surprised her. The aliens were not planning another attack. Instead, they were having something like a nervous breakdown. "Admiral," Lisa reported to her commanders, "the alien communications are full of panic. They are calling emergency meetings. Some of them want to destroy humanity completely before we can spread. Others want to hide from us. They are terrified." The recordings from the Kepler battle had spread through the entire Zephyrian civilization. Alien scientists studied every second of footage, trying to understand how humans could fight with such intensity. What they learned about human history filled them with dread. On Serenity Prime, Commander Zix Thala stood before the High Council of the Zephyrian Collective. These were the wisest and oldest aliens in their civilization. They had guided their species for thousands of years without ever needing to make decisions about war. "Honored Council," Zix Thala began, "we have encountered a species that challenges everything we believe about intelligent life. The council leader, an ancient alien, whose thoughts moved slowly but deeply, spoke in the musical language of the Zephyrians. Show us what you have learned about these humans." Zix Thala activated the holographic display. Images of human history appeared in the air above them. Pictures of ancient warriors with swords and shields, medieval knights in armor, soldiers fighting in muddy trenches, pilots dropping bombs from flying machines, armies clashing with weapons that could destroy cities. "This species has been at war with itself for its entire existence," Zix Thala explained. "They have fought over territory, resources, ideas, and sometimes for no reason we can understand. War is not something they do. It is something they are. The Council members watched in stunned silence as the display showed human military technology, weapons designed only to kill other humans, strategies for destroying entire civilizations, training methods that taught children how to fight before they could barely walk. "How many wars have they fought?" asked one council member. Zix Thala's tentacles trembled with emotion. "We stopped counting at 10,000, and those are just the ones their historians recorded. They estimate they have fought over 100,000 major conflicts." On Earth, General Tony Clark was planning humanity's next move. Tony was a master of strategic warfare, a man who could see patterns in battle that others missed. He knew the aliens were stronger, but he also knew they had a weakness. "They have never lost anything," Tony explained to his staff. "They do not know how to accept casualties. Every time we hurt them, they become more afraid." Dr. Mitchell had been studying alien communications that Chief Barnes had intercepted. What he found was both encouraging and terrifying. "The aliens are dividing into factions," he reported. "Some want to make peace with us. Others want to destroy us before we become a bigger threat." The peaceful faction was led by scholars and scientists who believed humans could be reasoned with. They thought that if they showed humans the benefits of Zephyrian civilization, humans would give up their violent ways. The war faction was smaller, but growing. They had studied human expansion patterns and realized that humans were spreading across the galaxy. If humanity was not stopped soon, they would become too numerous and too dangerous to control. Chief Barnes intercepted a communication that made everyone on Earth nervous. "The war faction is asking their government to use something called the final solution. From what I can understand, it is a weapon that can destroy entire star systems." Back on Serenity Prime, the debate continued. The alien who led the war faction was called Harmony of Shadows, a name that would have been beautiful in their musical language. But there was nothing beautiful about what Harmony wanted to do. "Fellow Zephyrians," Harmony sang in the council chamber, "we face an enemy that cannot be reasoned with. Humans do not want peace. They want war. If we do not destroy them now, they will eventually destroy us." But Zix Thala had learned something from fighting humans that changed everything. "Honored Harmony, I do not think humans want war. I think they need war. It is how they have survived. When they fight us, they are not trying to conquer us. They are trying to protect themselves." This idea was revolutionary for the Zephyrians. They had always assumed that violence came from a desire to hurt others. The idea that humans fought out of love for their own species was something they had never considered. "Explain this theory," demanded the council leader. Zix Thala showed them recordings from the Aurora's dawn. "Watch how the humans fight. They do not attack us to steal our resources or enslave our people. They fight to protect their families. When we boarded their ship, they did not try to capture us. They tried to drive us away. When their ship was about to be destroyed, they saved their children first." Dr. Wells on Earth was working on her own analysis. She had been studying the alien communications, and she saw something that gave her hope. "Admiral," she reported, "the aliens are not evil. They are scared. If we can show them that we do not want to hurt them, maybe we can end this war." But General Clark disagreed. "Doctor, these aliens have weapons that can destroy planets. Even if most of them want peace, the war faction could kill billions of humans. We cannot trust them." The debate on Earth was just as intense as the one on Serenity Prime. Some humans wanted to keep fighting until the aliens left human space forever. Others wanted to try diplomacy before more people died. Chief Barnes discovered something that changed the entire situation. Deep in the alien communications, she found references to other species that the Zephyrians had contacted. "Admiral," she reported with excitement, "the aliens have met dozens of other intelligent species, and they have never had a war with any of them." This news spread through the human government like wildfire. Earth was not the first species the aliens had found, but Earth was the first species that had fought back. Dr. Mitchell realized what this meant. We are unique in the galaxy. Every other species the aliens met was peaceful like them. We are the first warriors they have ever encountered. On Serenity Prime, the Council was reaching the same conclusion. Zixathala presented evidence from their database of contact with other species. In every case, first contact led to peaceful trade and cultural exchange. The other species were grateful to meet us. They wanted to learn from our advanced technology. But humans are different, observed the council leader. They do not want our gifts. They want to be left alone. Harmony of Shadows was not convinced. They are dangerous. Look at their weapons. Look at their tactics. They turn everything into an instrument of war. Their children play games about fighting. Their entertainment shows glorify violence. They are a disease that will spread across the galaxy. The Council faced the most difficult decision in their species' history. Should they use their ultimate weapon to destroy humanity before it could spread? Or should they try to understand a species that was completely different from anything they had ever known? Zixathala made one final argument. Honored Council, humans are violent, yes, but they are also brave. They are willing to die for others. They protect the weak. They never surrender when defending their families. These are not the traits of an evil species. These are the traits of a species that has learned to survive in a dangerous universe. The council leader looked at all the evidence. Recordings of human courage, examples of human sacrifice, stories of humans protecting other species from threats the Zephyrians had never imagined. Perhaps, the ancient alien said slowly, the galaxy needs guardians. Perhaps we have been fortunate to live in peace only because we have never faced a real threat. But somewhere in the darkness between stars, there may be dangers that only warriors can face. The vote was close, but the peace faction won. The Zephyrians would not use their ultimate weapon. Instead, they would send one ship back to human space, not to fight, but to try one more time to understand the strange species that had taught them about war. But first, they had to decide who would carry this dangerous message to the humans. It would have to be someone who understood both species, someone who had seen human courage and alien fear. The choice was obvious. Commander Zixathala would return to face the humans one more time. 6 months after the battle at Kepler, a single Zephyrian ship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was Commander Zixathala, returning alone to face the species that had changed everything the aliens believed about the universe. President Rick Morgan sat in the emergency meeting room under the White House. Around the table were Earth's best military leaders and scientists. The appearance of one alien ship had put the entire planet on high alert. "What do we know about this ship?" President Morgan asked. General Clark looked at the reports. "It is the same commander who led the first attack. The ship is heavily armed, but it is alone. Our deep space sensors show no other alien vessels within 50 light years. Ambassador Helen Parker had been Earth's top diplomat for 20 years. She had negotiated peace treaties between human colonies and solved conflicts that others thought were impossible. But she had never tried to make peace with aliens. "Mr. President," Helen said, "this could be our chance to end this war before it destroys both species. Dr. Carol Jensen was Earth's new expert on alien relations. She had spent months studying everything humans had learned about the Zephyrians. The aliens are taking a huge risk by sending one ship. In their culture, this kind of gesture shows they want to talk, not fight. But General Clark was suspicious. Or it could be a trick. One ship carrying a weapon that could destroy our entire planet. The alien ship sent a simple message in perfect human language. I am Commander Zixthala of the Zephyrian Collective. I request permission to speak with your leaders. I come alone and unarmed. President Morgan faced the hardest decision of his presidency. Earth's defenses were ready to destroy the alien ship if it made any hostile move. But if he attacked a peaceful messenger, it might start a war that would destroy humanity. Send a reply, the president ordered. Tell the commander that Earth agrees to talk. On the alien ship, Zixthala felt something that no Zephyrian had ever experienced before. Fear mixed with hope. The commander had volunteered for this mission knowing it might be a death sentence, but Zixthala had seen enough of human courage. To try matching it with alien determination, the meeting was arranged in space, halfway between Earth and the alien ship. A small human shuttle carried Ambassador Parker and Dr. Jensen to meet with Zixthala on a neutral space station that Earth had quickly built for the occasion. When the airlock opened and Commander Zixthala entered the meeting room, both humans were surprised. The alien was smaller than they expected, with skin that shimmered like water and large eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. But there was something else in those eyes now, something that looked like sadness. Ambassador Parker. Dr. Jensen, Zixthala said, speaking in the musical tones of the Zephyrian language, but with words humans could understand. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Helen Parker had negotiated with dictators and warlords, but she had never felt tension like this. The wrong word could start a war between species. Commander, why did you come here? Your people have weapons that could destroy our world. Zixthala's tentacles moved in what humans would later learn was a gesture of deep regret. Because I have seen what humans are willing to do to protect their families. And I have realized that my species has made a terrible mistake. Dr. Jensen leaned forward. What kind of mistake? We thought humans were like us, Zixthala explained. We thought all intelligent species would want peace above everything else. We did not understand that some species fight not because they enjoy violence, but because they love their families more than they fear death. Back on Earth, President Morgan and his advisors watched the meeting through secure video links. Every word was being recorded and analyzed by dozens of experts. The alien seems sincere, Dr. Mitchell reported. Body language suggests genuine emotion, not deception. But General Clark remained cautious. Aliens could fake emotions. We cannot trust them based on feelings. In the space station, Ambassador Parker asked the question that everyone on Earth wanted answered. Commander, what do your people plan to do about humanity? Zixthala was quiet for a long moment. My people are divided. Some want to destroy your species before you can spread across the galaxy. They believe humans are too dangerous to exist. Doctor. Jensen felt her heart sink. And the others? The others have begun to wonder if the galaxy needs guardians. For millions of years, we have lived in peace because we never encountered anything that wanted to hurt us. But we have studied your history, and we have learned that the universe can be a dangerous place. Zixthala activated a holographic display that showed images from across the galaxy. dark regions where entire star systems had gone silent. Strange signals from the deep void that suggested something hostile lurking between galaxies. "There are things in the darkness that we do not understand," Zixthala continued. "We have always assumed they were natural phenomena. But after seeing how humans fight, we wonder if some of these mysteries might be threats that only warriors could face." Ambassador Parker began to understand. "You want humans to be your soldiers." "No," Zixthala said firmly. "We want humans to be humans. We want you to remain free and independent. But we also want to know that if something terrible comes from the darkness, there is a species in the galaxy that knows how to fight." The negotiation continued for hours. Slowly, carefully, the two species began to understand each other. Humans learned that the Zephyrians were not conquerors but gardeners, tending to a peaceful galaxy. The aliens learned that humans were not destroyers but protectors, willing to sacrifice everything to defend the innocent. "There is something else," Zixthala said as the meeting neared its end. "My people have made contact with 47 other intelligent species. All of them are peaceful. All of them have given up violence. You are the only warriors we have ever found." Dr. Jensen realized what this meant. "We are unique." "You are precious," Zixthala corrected. "In a galaxy full of gardeners, you are the only guardians." The final agreement was simple but revolutionary. The Zephyrians would recognize human space as sovereign territory. They would not interfere with human expansion or try to change human nature. In exchange, humans would agree to help defend other peaceful species if something threatened them. But the most important part of the agreement was unwritten. Both species had learned to respect each other. The aliens had seen that human violence came from love, not hate. The humans had seen that alien power came from wisdom, not cruelty. When Ambassador Parker returned to Earth, she carried with her a gift from Commander Zixthala. It was a recording of Zephyrian music, beautiful, complex melodies that spoke of peace and harmony. But woven into the music were new notes, harsher but somehow necessary, that honored the human capacity for sacrifice. President Morgan addressed the world that night. Today, humanity took its place in a galactic community, not as subjects or conquerors, but as partners. We have learned that the universe is vast and full of wonders we never imagined. We have also learned that our willingness to fight for what we love is not a weakness to be ashamed of, but a strength that may one day protect countless peaceful worlds. On Serenity Prime, Zixthala made a similar announcement to the Zephyrian collective. "We have found a species that is both terrible and wonderful. They are violent beyond our understanding, but their violence serves love, not hatred. They will be our allies in the darkness, and we will be their guides in the light." The war between humans and aliens was over, but something more important had begun. For the first time in galactic history, warriors and peacekeepers had learned to work together. In the years that followed, human ships would patrol the dangerous regions where peaceful aliens feared to go. Zephyrian science would help humanity reach new worlds and cure diseases that had plagued Earth for centuries. But the most important change was in how both species saw themselves. Humans learned that their warrior nature was not a flaw, but a gift to the galaxy. Aliens learned that peace was only possible when someone was willing to fight for it. Commander Zixthala often looked at the recordings from that first battle and remembered the moment when everything changed. It was when the human colony ship turned toward the alien flagship, ready to sacrifice 50,000 lives to protect Earth. In that moment, Zixthala had seen something that would transform the galaxy forever, the terrible beauty of a species that had learned to love something more than life itself. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but now it had both gardeners to nurture peace and guardians to protect it. The partnership between humans and aliens would face many challenges in the years to come, but they would face them together. 5 years after first contact, the partnership between humans and peaceful aliens had created the most stable period in galactic history. Trade routes were safe, conflicts were rare, and dozens of species lived in harmony under human protection. But deep in the dark regions of space, something was stirring that would test this new alliance like never before. Dr. Sarah Kim was Earth's leading expert on deep space phenomena. She worked at the Galileo Research Station, a massive facility built in partnership with Zephyrian scientists. For months, Sarah had been studying strange signals coming from the galaxy's outer rim, far beyond where any known species lived. "Dr. Kim," called her assistant, Marcus Brown. "The long-range sensors are picking up those signals again, but this time they are stronger." Sarah looked at the data streaming across her screens. The signals were not natural phenomena like radiation from dying stars. They had patterns, structure, intelligence behind them, but they were unlike any communication method used by known species. "Marcus, send a copy of this data to Commander Zixthala. Ask if the Zephyrians have ever seen anything like this." The reply came within hours, and it carried a tone of concern that Sarah had never heard from the usually calm aliens. "Dr. Kim," Zixthala's message began, "we have been monitoring similar signals for 200 years. We always assumed they were natural cosmic events, but your analysis suggests something far more disturbing." What Sarah had discovered was evidence of organization in the signals. They followed patterns that suggested a vast intelligence coordinating activities across multiple star systems. Whatever was out there, it was big, it was smart, and it was getting closer to inhabited space. Captain Bill Anderson commanded the human deep patrol ship Star Hunter. Bill was one of Earth's most experienced space commanders, a veteran of both the alien wars and 5 years of peacekeeping duties. His ship was specially designed for long-range reconnaissance missions into dangerous territory. "Captain," reported his navigator, Lieutenant Paula Garcia, "we have new orders from Earth Command. We are to investigate the source of the mystery signals Dr. Kim has been tracking." Bill studied the mission briefing. They would be traveling farther from Earth than any human ship had gone before, into regions where even the Zephyrians had never ventured. It was exactly the kind of dangerous mission that required human courage and stubbornness. "How long until we reach the signal source?" Bill asked. "At maximum speed, 6 weeks," Paula replied. "But Captain, we will be completely alone out there. No backup, no support, no communication with home." Bill smiled grimly. "Then we better not mess this up." The Star Hunter left known space on a Tuesday morning, carrying a crew of 50 volunteers. Everyone on board knew they might be flying into a situation that could destroy them. But they also knew that if something dangerous was lurking in the darkness, humanity needed to know about it. As they traveled deeper into unexplored space, the signals grew stronger. Dr. Kim's analysis had been correct. Something was out there, and it was actively communicating across vast distances. The signals followed patterns that suggested military coordination. "Captain," Paula reported after 3 weeks of travel, "we are detecting artificial structures ahead. Multiple large objects in orbit around a dead star system." Bill ordered the ship to approach carefully. What they saw through the long-range telescopes changed everything humans thought they knew about the galaxy. Massive ships floated in the darkness, each one larger than Earth's biggest cities. They were clearly artificial, built by some intelligence, but their design was unlike anything humans or peaceful aliens had ever created. They looked organic, like they had been grown rather than built. "How many ships are there?" Bill asked. Paula worked at her console, trying to count the distant objects. "I count over 1,000 large vessels, Captain, and they appear to be alive." The ships were not just machines. They pulsed with their own light, moved with fluid grace, and seemed to communicate with each other through bursts of energy. Whatever species had built them was completely different from any known form of life. "Captain," called Chief Engineer Tom Wright from his station, "I am reading massive energy signatures from those ships. If they are weapons, they make our most powerful bombs look like firecrackers." Bill faced a terrible decision. His orders were to gather information and return to Earth. But if these unknown ships were preparing to attack inhabited space, someone needed to warn the galaxy. The problem was that his small ship could not outrun the massive vessels if they decided to chase him. "Send a message probe back to Earth," Bill ordered. "Include all our sensor data and video recordings. If we do not make it back, at least our people will know what is coming." As the Star Hunter tried to gather more information while staying hidden, they discovered something that made the situation even worse. The unknown ships were not alone. Smaller vessels moved between the giants like insects around flowers. And some of those smaller ships looked familiar. "Captain," Paula said with shock in her voice, "some of those smaller ships match the design of the Devourers we fought at Vega." Bill understood immediately. The Devourers had not been acting alone. When they attacked peaceful traders, they had been working for something much larger and more dangerous. The galaxy was facing an invasion fleet that had been preparing in the darkness for years. "Get us closer," Bill ordered. "We need to know what we are really dealing with." What they discovered in the next few hours would haunt Bill for the rest of his life. The massive ships contained millions of creatures that looked like a mixture of machine and living tissue. They moved in perfect coordination, like parts of a single, vast organism. But worse than the creatures was what they were doing. The ships were processing captured beings from dozens of species, turning them into more soldiers for their fleet. The peaceful aliens who had disappeared over the years had not died. They had been converted into weapons. "Captain," Tom reported, "with horror, I am detecting harmonious biosignatures in those ships, and Zephyrian ones, and, oh no, human ones too." Bill realized they were looking at the galaxy's worst nightmare. An enemy that did not just kill its victims, but transformed them into more enemies. Every species that fell to these invaders would make them stronger. "We have seen enough," Bill decided. "We need to get this information back to Earth immediately." But as the Star Hunter tried to retreat, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. The massive alien vessels had detected them and were beginning to move. Ships that had floated motionless for hours suddenly came to life, turning toward the small human vessel. "Captain," Paula reported, "multiple large ships are moving to intercept us. We cannot outrun them." Bill looked at his crew. They were good people who had volunteered for this mission knowing it was dangerous. Now they faced a choice between certain death and possible escape. As humans always had, they chose to fight. "All hands, prepare for battle," Bill announced. "We may not be able to destroy these ships, but we are going to make them pay for every meter." The battle that followed was unlike anything in the history of space warfare. One small human ship faced dozens of vessels, each hundreds of times larger, but the Star Hunter had advantages that the aliens did not expect. Human ships were designed by a species that expected to be outnumbered and outgunned. Every system was built to keep fighting even when damaged. Every weapon was designed to hit above its weight class. And every human on board was willing to die to protect their people. Bill used tactics that the alien hive mind could not predict. He hid in asteroid fields, used the dead star's gravity to slingshot around enemies, and turned his ship's own systems into weapons when conventional armaments failed. "Captain," Tom reported, "we have damaged 3 of their ships, but we are taking heavy fire, hull breaches on multiple decks." Bill made a decision that would become legend among human warriors. Instead of trying to escape, he turned the star Hunter toward the largest enemy ship and activated the self-destruct sequence. "This is Captain Anderson to any human ship that receives this message," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We have found the enemy. They are coming for all of us. Tell Earth. They convert the captured into soldiers. Every species they defeat makes them stronger. Do not let them reach inhabited space." The Star Hunter exploded against the hull of the massive alien ship, taking a section of it with them. It was a tiny victory against an enormous threat, but it sent a message that would echo across the galaxy. The message probe reached Earth 6 weeks later, carrying Bill's final transmission and sensor data from the battle. When President Morgan and his advisors saw the recordings, they realized that the peaceful period was over. "How long until they reach inhabited space?" the president asked his military advisors. General Clark studied the data. Based on their current movement patterns, 18 months. Maybe less if they increase speed. Commander Zix Thala arrived on Earth within days of receiving the news. The alien leader met with human officials in emergency session, sharing information that had been classified for centuries. "We have known about the collective for over 500 years, Zix Thala admitted. "We thought they were contained in the outer darkness. We never imagined they would move toward inhabited systems." "Ambassador," Parker asked the question everyone was thinking. 18 months after Captain Anderson's sacrifice, the collective had reached the outer edges of inhabited space. 3 peaceful colonies had already fallen, their populations converted into more soldiers for the alien hive mind. The galaxy faced its darkest hour, and every species looked to humanity for salvation. Admiral Grace Thompson commanded the largest fleet in human history. 200 ships from Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies had gathered at the Centauri defense line. Humanity's last prepared position before the collective reached Earth itself. Grace had fought in every major human conflict for 20 years, but nothing had prepared her for this. "Admiral," reported Captain Eddie Martinez from the flagship's tactical station, "the collective fleet has entered the system. Our sensors count over 3,000 vessels." Grace looked at the tactical display and felt her heart sink. The enemy fleet was 15 times larger than her own, and every ship was massive beyond human engineering. But she had learned something important. From studying Captain Anderson's final battle, the collective could be hurt if you hit them the right way. "Signal all ships," Grace ordered. "Execute Plan Omega." Plan Omega was humanity's desperate last strategy. Instead of trying to fight the collective fleet directly, they would target the command vessels that coordinated the hive mind. If they could disrupt the aliens' ability to work together, they might win despite the impossible odds. Commander Zix Thala watched the approaching battle from the bridge of a Zephyrian science vessel. The peaceful aliens had evacuated most of their civilians to safe systems, but Zix Thala had insisted on staying to coordinate with human forces. After 5 years of partnership, the alien commander refused to abandon humanity in their greatest hour of need. "Admiral Thompson, Zixthala transmitted. Our analysis confirms that the collective uses quantum entanglement to coordinate their fleet. If you can destroy the primary command nodes, the other ships will become confused. Grace acknowledged the information while watching the enemy approach. The collective ships moved with perfect precision, like a single organism with thousands of parts. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Dr. Lisa Wells had survived the destruction of her research station when the collective first attacked inhabited space. Now she worked on the flagship, using her knowledge of alien psychology to find weaknesses in the hive mind. What she had discovered gave humanity its only hope. "Admiral," Lisa reported, "the collective does not understand individual sacrifice. Their whole species thinks as one mind. They cannot predict tactics based on personal choice." This was the key to human strategy. The collective could predict logical military moves, but they could not understand human illogic. They could not comprehend why someone would sacrifice their life for others, or why humans would take impossible risks to protect their families. Major Kyle Roberts led Squadron 7, 12 fighter ships crewed by the bravest pilots in human space. Their mission was suicide. Fly directly into the heart of the collective fleet and destroy the command ships before being overwhelmed. Kyle had volunteered for the mission because his wife and children were on Earth, and he would rather die fighting than live knowing he had not tried to save them. "Squadron 7, prepare for launch," Kyle announced to his pilots. "Remember, we are not trying to survive this mission. We are trying to buy time for our families." The battle began when the collective fleet entered weapons range. The alien ships fired beams of energy that could cut through the hull of a human vessel like paper. But the humans had learned from Captain Anderson's sacrifice and designed new tactics based on speed and unpredictability. Grace's fleet scattered in all directions, refusing to fight the kind of organized battle the collective expected. Individual, human ships used asteroids for cover, hid behind moons, and attacked from directions the aliens had not anticipated. Squadron 7 launched in the confusion, diving toward the enemy command ships like arrows shot from a bow. The collective tried to intercept them, but Kyle and his pilots flew with the desperate skill of people fighting for their children's lives. "This is Squadron 7, Kyle broadcast, as his fighters penetrated the enemy formation. "We are beginning our attack run. Tell our families we love them." What happened next became known as the Miracle of Centauri. Squadron 7 destroyed 4 command ships before being wiped out, but their sacrifice created exactly the confusion Grace needed. Parts of the collective fleet lost coordination and began firing at each other. Lieutenant Amy Foster commanded a damaged human cruiser that had lost most of its weapons. Instead of retreating, she rammed her ship into a collective vessel 10 times larger, creating an explosion that took out 2 more enemy command ships. Sergeant Roy Patterson led a boarding party onto a collective ship that had been disabled by human fire. What they found inside horrified them. Converted humans, aliens, and other species all working as parts of the hive mind. But Roy and his Marines fought their way to the ship's control center and planted explosives that destroyed the vessel from. Within, Commander Zixthala watched the battle with growing amazement. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing certain defeat. But they kept fighting anyway, using tactics that defied logic and making sacrifices that the collective could not comprehend. "Admiral Thompson," Zixthala transmitted, "you are achieving something impossible. The collective is beginning to make errors." Grace could see it too. The alien fleet, which had moved with perfect coordination at the start of the battle, was now making mistakes. Ships collided with each other, weapons fired at empty space, and entire formations moved in the wrong directions. But the cost was terrible. Half the human fleet had been destroyed, and Grace knew they could not keep fighting much longer. She made the hardest decision of her military career. "All ships, prepare for final assault," she ordered. "We are going to ram the remaining command vessels. This is our last chance to save the galaxy." What the humans did not know was that their sacrifice was being watched by species across the galaxy. Peaceful aliens who had never seen true warfare observed humans dying to protect strangers. The recordings of human courage spread through every civilization, inspiring others to find their own strength. The melodic, a species of gentle singers, began broadcasting human battle songs across space, adding their own harmonies that spoke of courage and sacrifice. The crystal builders, master engineers who had never built weapons, started creating tools of war for the first time in their history. Even the Zephyrians, the most peaceful species in the galaxy, began to change. Watching humans die for others taught them that sometimes violence was not evil but necessary. Admiral Grace Thompson's flagship was the last human vessel still fighting when the impossible happened. A new fleet appeared at the edge of the system. But these were not human ships. They were vessels from a dozen peaceful species, all armed with newly built weapons and crewed by beings who had never fought before. "This is Commander Melody of the Harmonious Fleet," came a transmission in crystal-clear tones. "We have come to stand with our human guardians." The collective had never faced anything like this. Their hive mind was designed to fight individual species, not an alliance of different kinds of life working together. When peaceful aliens began fighting alongside humans, using human tactics combined with their own unique abilities, the alien invaders finally met their match. The tide of battle turned when Dr. Wells made a final discovery about the collective's weakness. The hive mind could not function if enough of its command nodes were destroyed simultaneously. All across the battlefield, human and alien ships coordinated their attacks for one massive strike. "All vessels," Grace broadcast. "Target every command. Ship at once. Fire on my mark." The combined fleet fired as one, sending thousands of weapons toward the collective command vessels. The alien hive mind, faced with losing too many coordination nodes at once, began to collapse. The remaining collective ships, suddenly cut off from their guiding intelligence, stopped fighting and began drifting aimlessly through space. Some tried to flee, others simply shut down, and a few even began attacking each other in confusion. The battle was over, but the cost had been enormous. 3/4 of the human fleet was gone, including Admiral Thompson's flagship. Grace had died in the final assault, ramming her damaged ship into the largest collective command vessel. Commander Zixthala found himself in command of the combined fleet as the last enemy ships retreated into dark space. The alien leader looked around at the wreckage of the battle and felt emotions that no Zephyrian had experienced for thousands of years. "This is Commander Zixthala to all surviving vessels," the alien broadcast. "The collective has been defeated. The galaxy is free. But we must never forget the price that was paid for this victory." In the years that followed, the Battle of Centauri became legend. Statues of Admiral Thompson and Captain Anderson stood on worlds throughout the galaxy. The names of Squadron 7 were carved in monuments on a dozen planets. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned something new about itself. Peaceful species discovered they could fight when necessary. Violent species learned that their strength could serve justice. And everyone learned that the greatest victories came not from superior weapons, but from the willingness to sacrifice for others. The call